Hey, what's up, YouTube? Actually, this is my first intentional YouTube video, one take. Um, so the topic of this first YouTube video that I'm making is I've got a dilemma. Um, call this first world problems, but it is what it is. Uh, I'm interested now in possibly as some of you may have seen in some of my other videos, I'm a car enthusiast. I've had a variety of vehicles over the years, and my current decision, on a vehicle right now is I'm looking at a 2006 Lamborghini Gallardo, um, Monterey blue, which is a very rare color for the Gallardo. As a matter of fact, it's not a standard color. But it was a color painted originally with the car from Lamborghini. I actually flew down to West Palm Beach, Florida, right before the hurricane, and I drove the car. Um, After seeing pictures of it, fell in love with the pictures. Was my first time actually driving a Lamborghini um, or a Gallardo or any Lamborghini for that matter. First time driving one. Um, like I said, fell in love with the way the car looked, but drove it. The car, it's an '06. It only had not just about 10,000 miles on it, but drove it. Didn't quite fall in love with how the car drove. Um, Also, the interior of the car was in good condition. The dealership really didn't clean it up like they probably should have to make it look like new. But after taking it for a spin, and driving the car, and also as a passenger, I didn't expect the car to be overwhelming with like power and torque and that kind of thing. But I was hoping to be impressed by the way it drove, like throttle response, steering response, brake response. Um, I think everybody has, at least car enthusiasts, have their preferred, um, you know, their preferred like driving mechanics, or the way a car is set up, whether the brake pedal is difficult to push down on, or a heavy brake pedal, or whether a car is an automatic or manual, that kind of thing. I like Me personally, I like cars that steer easy. Um, Audis are really good for that. I like cars that brake easy, and have sensitive throttle response on the gas pedal. Audi seem to do the best job on all three of those things. One of the best driving cars I've ever owned was an S6, um, followed by, believe it or not, a 2015 Mustang GT, which I actually posted videos of here on YouTube. So I'm hoping to get some feedback from the very few subscribers that I do have, and those that might subscribe in the future, because if I get the Lamborghini, I'm definitely going to do some videos about it. But some feedback on which way I should go, because right now I'm sitting on the fence. I drove the car. I was a little bit underwhelmed. Performance. Okay, so and just for background, I currently drive a 2016. Well, I'll just run. I'll just run it down the list as far as all the cars that I currently drive. I drive currently a 2016 GTR that I just got in July of this year. I drive a Jeep SRT8, which is a 2006. I drive a Audi S3, which is like a 2015. Um, and then I have like a work truck, which is like a modified uh, Toyota Tundra, like a 2012 Tundra. I could do videos on that, but that's a whole different subject. So anyway, now cars that I've owned that I'm comparing the Gallardo to. Um, I probably can't name all of the cars, but I've gone from different years of WRXs. I the first probably really fast car that I owned was a '93 RX-7 turbo. I've had various years of Mustangs. I've had um, I've had a 2006 C6 Corvette, which I supercharged, and that's probably the fastest car I've ever had. It had 600 horsepower to the wheels and about 590 foot-pounds of torque to the wheels. And I also got a C7 when they first came out, a 20, what was it 2016 or 2015? 2015 Corvette C7, supercharged it as well. I think my C6 was a little bit faster, but I supercharged it. Um, that car had, all of the creature comforts, but just didn't fall in love with it. I think I kept out of all those cars that I just mentioned. I just got rid of an M4, which was probably one of the nicest looking cars that I've ever had, and then I got the GTR when I sold the M4, and the M4 had like a JB4 tune on it, and it was a pretty fast car as well. Um, and I'm mentioning these cars because these are some of the cars that I've had experience with before I got into the Gallardo. Now the Gallardo for me is like my dream car over the since it came out in 2004. I actually like the Gallardo better than the Murcielago and even the Aventador, like the body style at least. I can't say I like the Gallardo more than the Huracan, but but the Huracan is a pretty new car, and it's a dream car as well of mine. Maybe someday in the future I can get a used Huracan or something like that. But anyway, the prices on the Gallardos have come down enough where the car payment on a GTR versus a car payment on a used Gallardo are within striking distance. We're talking about give or take $100 a month. So anyway, I got the GTR. Um, I haven't done any reviews on the car or even done any videos on the car. Um, the GTR is sort of like a step up from the M4, which is why I bought it. It's faster than the M4 was, not by much, believe it or not. But I did, full bolt-ons with the GTR, and now that I've driven it that way, the car is hands down one of the fastest cars, on the streets that you can get. Um, but other than that, so the car is fast. It's somewhat exotic. Um, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I've only seen a GTR on the streets. On the streets, maybe once or twice ever. As far as seeing them in car shows and that kind of thing, you might see one GTR at a car meet, maybe two. Um, but at that same car meet, you might even see Lamborghinis and a variety of other supercars or exotics. But the GTR, I would say, is a little bit more rare. Anyway, anyway, did some mods to the GTR. I've had it for about 3 or 4 months, and maybe because the car was never my dream car, based mostly on looks. Because like when you have a dream car, you're going based on either what you heard about it, videos you've seen of the car, or actual pictures, right? So if you look at a GTR, it's not the most attractive car, in my opinion. Some people might love the way it looks, but like the back of the car, I love the tail lights. It's got an exotic look from the back of the car. From the side of the car, it's not too bad. It's pretty unique looking. The front of the car of the GTR is ugly. I just don't like it. Um, and overall, taking the whole car overall, um, it looks. If you didn't know it was a GTR, if you weren't a car person, you would just think it's a nice looking nice looking Nissan, right? Um, but the performance is hands down, right? Everybody knows the performance of the GTR, after mods, but the performance of a Gallardo after mods, the mods are way more expensive, but you know, that's one of the fastest cars, that from a mod perspective that you're going to see is a Gallardo. But I did just see a Huracan that was modded with twin turbos that did 7 seconds in the quarter mile. So you might have to look that up on YouTube. But anyway, so I'm mentioning all these cars in the past and then currently the GTR because I'm going to trade the GTR in for the Gallardo if I get it. But but after driving the Gallardo, I'm thinking to myself, am I going to what's going to be the reason to make me want to get in the Gallardo as opposed to the Jeep or um, the S3 or whatever, right? Um, and I remember I'm thinking back to all the cars that I've had in the last 10 to 15 years. And the car that I look forward to driving the most that I can remember is actually the 2015 Mustang GT. And I know how absurd that might sound compared to some of the other cars that I've had, like the M4 and the GTR. But the way the steering response, the throttle response, the braking on the car, the handling, and I'm not like a track driver or anything like that. So when I say handling, for me, it's probably something different from when they talk about handling in a car magazine or performance on a racetrack or something. Handling for me is just how comfortable the car is to drive in most everyday scenarios. When you're going fast sometimes or when you're going slow. The handling was great. The suspension was great. It was just comfortable. The the solid construction of that car I was just totally impressed with it. To the point that, believe it or not, and this is probably going to be the title of the video, it's either right the GTR, keeping the GTR, getting a Mustang GT like a 2015. I had an automatic transmission was great. But maybe I might, if I go back to a Mustang GT, maybe I'll get a manual, right? And then throw like a Roush supercharger in it or something like that. But anyway, deciding between the GTR, keeping the GTR, trading it for a Mustang GT 2015 or newer, or picking up that '06 Gallardo. I'll see if I can put pictures over here in the video. It's a beautiful from a looks perspective, the Gallardo wins hands down. From a having fun on the weekends, going out, to show off the car to a car meet or going on a date or something like that, the Gallardo wins hands down. Um, which one's the fastest? The GTR wins as in their current form. And my budget level for the car, it would be the GTR. As far as the fastest, which one sounds the best? I don't know. Like some people probably would say the Gallardo, but to me, man, the Mustang GT is one of the best sounding. The 5.0 is one of the best sounding cars ever. So to me, that's sort of a toss up. Probably it could just go either way, just based on your opinion or your mood or whatever. Um, but looking forward to driving a car based on having drove that Gallardo and having driven the GTR, and then you know, having owned and driven the Mustang, I would look forward to driving the Mustang over all of those cars. Um, Now, here's something interesting: the GTR, the ride quality in the GTR is the worst out of all three of those cars that I'm thinking about. The Gallardo was actually significantly better, um, as far as, you know, how stiff it was, than the GTR, and then the Mustang is even more comfortable than either one of those cars, right? But the suspension and you know, the Gallardo is darn near a race car, and the GTR is as well. They ride. If you got in a GTR and then you got in a Gallardo, you would feel like, and somebody else said the same thing to me at a car dealership, a friend of mine I was talking to today. They drive very similar. You feel like you're in the same type of car, right? When you drive the Mustang, you get sort of a different, more comfortable. It's just a more comfortable car. The response, everything responds better. Like the brakes, your gas, you know, and your steering. It just all feels better. And I used to look forward to you know, pushing that start button on the car, listening to the engine start up, and just driving it to the grocery store or whatever like that. I don't think I would feel like that in the Lamborghini. I don't currently feel like that in the GTR. Now the GTR, once you get in the GTR, um, it's got a nice sound to it now. It's got a acropovic exhaust on it. You get into the car a little bit, it starts, you know, you get into the drive a little bit. But if you're just doing regular driving, the transmission in the GTR is not. It's bad. Like I mean, it's good. It's great from a track perspective if you're like running down a quarter mile or if you're running around a track. But for driving around town, the transmission sucks. Like it's not even good. Like people in car magazines call it clunky. I call it just um, it's not something you look forward to driving around to the grocery store just for a joyride or something. You get in a GTR like you're trying to race somebody, or you're trying to go somewhere and sit at a car meet and show your GTR or something like that. But it doesn't inspire that feeling of I just want to go for a ride in my car, a leisurely ride with maybe hitting the throttle a little bit here and there. It doesn't inspire that feeling where the Mustang did. The Gallardo, I only drove it one time. I got on the freeway with it. I drove it, you know, I probably drove it only 5 to 10 miles, so it wasn't a lot. So potentially, you know, it could be more of the car that would inspire you to want to get in and drive it. But then again, it's a Lamborghini, so like how often I don't personally when I get a car, the number one factor is not the attention that it gets. So like I want to hear everybody's comments, um, but that for me, like once you've I don't know, I'm a behind the scenes type of person, so I don't look forward to a lot of the attention unless it's people like me that just appreciate the car, um, for the car itself, you know, like at a car meet with car guys and stuff like that, and they appreciate the car and they want to see the car or take pictures of it and that kind of thing. That's cool. But when you go out, you know, to let's say you want to go out to dinner or whatever, sometimes I'll be in the mood and you know to go out like and not worry about people asking a bunch of questions about the car or whatever or giving you a whole lot of attention. But sometimes I'm not going to be in the mood for that. So I kind of wonder. Um, that's not a big factor for me as far as why I would buy the car. The other thing to think about with that attention is I'm from the hood, so like if I get the car, I'll be the only person that I grew up with or that I know that would have ever bought a Lamborghini. So, and I'm still friends with people that I grew up with from the hood. Some of them are still in the hood. Most of them are not. But the thing about it is, you at some point you think about, like, okay, if I'm gonna be driving a Lamborghini around, do I really want that attention? What is the statement that I'm making? And that kind of thing. Now, for me personally, I like the car because I like the car. I'm not trying to make, if I buy the car, I'm not trying to make a statement about how much money I have or what level of success I've achieved or anything like that. And plus it's a 2006 Gallardo. It's not a, $150,000 or $200,000 plus car. It's actually, this particular car was right around 100 grand, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more based on negotiation, um, but it's just food for thought, right? Whereas if went back and got a Mustang, nobody's going to look at me twice in a Mustang. But it would be one car that I know would be fun to drive. One of the best. I put it in my top two cars that I've ever owned and driven, along with that Audi S6 is the Mustang. Now, so those are the things that I'm debating. I'm on the fence. Earlier today, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to a Mustang and then, you know, work real hard, pay down some of my, real estate investments and stuff like that. And then later on, um, maybe get a used Huracan, or maybe get a newer Gallardo. But for now, maybe focus on, investing more and doing other business development stuff instead of splurging on, the dream car at this point. But my screensaver on my computer is a picture of the car, and I forgot about it. I looked at the car again. I was like, dang man, that's one of the, the nicest cars I've ever seen or, driven or whatever. It got me thinking about it. Talked to some friends. Like, one of my friends is like, you only live once. If it's not going to hurt you financially and you want the car, just get it. Another one of my friends is like, it's different. You know what I mean? It's like, it's different. Like, if I have a regular car, I have a Jeep that I can drive, and nobody cares about that or whatever. It's just a regular car. I've got the Audi I can drive around, for work and stuff like that. But if I want to go out and just, I'm in the mood to be in a Lamborghini or whatever, I will have that, and it's different. Like I said, I've here at car meets I've seen Lamborghinis, but on the street, might see a Lamborghini once every 6 months, maybe once every 3 to 6 months, something like that. So you don't see them a lot. So yeah, so that's the dilemma. Um, it's a ridiculous dilemma. It's not important. This is unfortunately my first YouTube video blog that I'm posting on a personal level. I've done a lot of videos for work. I've done videos of my cars, but I've never personally got on the video because I don't really like, I'm not a on camera type person, but I think it's a good idea. People are really taking advantage of YouTube. I've learned a lot from YouTube. I've watched a lot of videos of other people and different things that they're doing or going through, and I've learned a lot. So I thought, with this channel, I can share my passion for different things in life, and one of my passions is cars. I could tell stories about, how my passion for cars is developed, but there's other things that I do that I might be able to share my experiences and my knowledge, with the general public, and what better way to do it than through YouTube. So, and this might generate some questions. People might wonder what I do, and I can talk about that, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching my video. More than anything, I just wanted to get real feedback and your comments. And if you want to see more of the videos that I'm going to be posting in the future, just click subscribe. And I'll, the more subscribers I get, the more comments I get, the more videos I will post. And I think I've got some pretty interesting stuff to share, not only for car enthusiasts, but for people that just like living life and making the most of it. So thanks for watching. This is Will Moss signing out. Holla back.